Welcome to the Nurse Shark Academy Show, a Baxter Professional Services production. Welcome to the Nurse Shark Academy Show, where we're experts in nursing and experts in business. I'm Tina Baxter, your host. The Nurse Shark Academy Show highlights nurse business owners and others in the healthcare field who promote entrepreneurship. Today's guest is Emily Knife. Emily is the founder of the School of Modern Nursing and Modern Nurse Fest. And today's episode is how one nurse turned burnout into power as a modern nurse. And as an extra bonus today, we are celebrating 5,000 downloads with our podcast. So thank you all for listening. Let's get into the episode.
And yeah, Modern Nurse Fest started October 2024. I put it together in 2 months and had 20 speakers, 300 people from all around the world. It was an online Zoom. I did 2 days and I had all these speakers on, and I didn't offer CEs at that time, and it was amazing. It was amazing. And there was topics that we talked about that are very taboo still in nursing, or nurses don't have very good access to other nurses that are teaching it. So we talked about psilocybin. So it's mushroom. It's called microdosing is another term for that. Also plant medicines such as cannabis and entrepreneurship. I had financial nurses on there, nurses that do credit card points, nurses that handle financial investments. We had nurses from aesthetics on there. So really a wide range of nurses that are doing all sorts of things beyond the bedside. And so that's what I really wanted to focus on, because I knew that there was nothing really like this, because most conferences we focus on patient care, unfortunately.
Break free and come feel the sun with the Nurse Shark Academy. Nurses, are you ready to break free from the grind and build something of your own? It's time to take your skills beyond the bedside and step into entrepreneurship. Join our webinar, Break Free, the Nurse's Path to Entrepreneurship, where you'll learn how to shift your mindset, explore your nurse-owned business ideas, and get the exact steps to launch your own business. This is your time to take control of your career and create a future you love. Seats are limited, so grab yours now. Break free and join the Nurse Shark Academy at thenursesharkacademy.biz. Hi, and welcome to the show. Welcome to the Nurse Shark Academy Show. This is Tina Baxter, your host. The Nurse Shark Academy Show highlights nurse business owners and others in the healthcare field who promote entrepreneurship. Today's guest is Emily Knife. Emily is a trailblazer in modern nursing, transforming her journey from a burnt-out nurse educator into a visionary founder of the School of Modern Nursing and Modern Nurse Fest. And so she's a published author of 5 books and a healthcare innovator. She's redefined what it means to be a nurse in today's world. So I want to welcome to the show, Emily.
Hi, thank you for having me, Tina. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm excited to have you here. I know we talked previously and we just had a great conversation, and I was like, oh, we got to say something for the show. But I want to ask that first question that I ask everyone: what made you become a nurse?
Yeah. Long story short, my stepmom is a midwife, and so I was always involved in the nursing at the dinner table. She would come home and tell us of birthing stories while we're eating spaghetti. And right then and there, I was like, if I can handle eating spaghetti while listening to a birthing story, maybe I'm cut out for this. And so that was kind of the start of my journey. I didn't intend on being a nurse when I originally went into college. I was actually going for athletic training and dabbled in special education. I really kind of didn't know what I wanted to do. Like a lot of us kind of dabble in, different areas, but I kept coming back to the service and the service of humans. And so I didn't have the grades to go to a regular school. I actually had to go to a private school because they're like, your grades are too low. And I'm like, okay. So I had to pay premium prices to get my nursing degree. But that's literally, I think it would be, I'm going to have to owe to my stepmom, Eileen Soroy. She's a midwife and she's amazing. And probably if it wasn't for her, I probably wouldn't be sitting in front of you today with this podcast here.
Well, you know what? I look at it this way: you start where you can. And so it doesn't matter if you went to a proprietary school or a private school or a big fancy university. The fact that you found a way forward, that's what
Yeah.
is important, is what our listeners need to hear. So
Yeah.
I always look at it, doesn't matter where you start, right? It's where you finish. I
Yes.
had the privilege of going to three private Christian universities for my career.
Yes.
But I have friends who went to the community college, and I'm like, that's perfectly fine. I
Yeah.
actually had a friend who's a nurse who went to the local um, trade school that they had in high school. You would do this training to
Yeah.
become an LPN, and that's how she got started. So
Awesome.
wherever you get started, as long as you get started. So, what was it like? Because I want some of our listeners are nursing students, and maybe they are starting in what they think is a disadvantage, academic wise. Maybe they struggled in school or things like that. So, what was it like when you were in nursing school? What kept you going?
Yeah, the graduation day. I put the graduation day on a big piece of paper and I put it above my study area and I just kept looking at that. And I did like how many days were left. So I had a countdown on my phone, I had a countdown on my wall. And the co-students that I was with, I'm still friends with some of them today. And I think that's what honestly got me through it as well, is like we all trauma bonded, as a lot of us nurses say. We're in the trenches together. And so we really just fed each other positivity and encouragement along the way and really held each other accountable. And I think that's a big thing, not just only in nursing school, but as you go into the field of nursing as well. So, yeah, I went through LPN and then I went through an ADN program and then I did a bridge, an ADN to an MSN. So I skipped the BSN and did a bridge program, which is really interesting through Walden University. So that's what's great about nursing, is there's so many different routes you can take. And if you're consistently persistent, you will succeed. So that's the biggest thing I can give you as a takeaway for nursing students, is just being consistently persistent and reach out to your co-students, because we're all in this together.
Yes, yes. I really, my undergrad classmates, I love that class because we were like no one left behind. That was our
Yeah.
motto. Everybody was going to pass. We were going to work together. And I remember sitting at Perkins or Waffle House, and we had these long study sessions before finals week because our class was a little bit smaller that year. And we just wanted everybody to succeed. And we saw what the class ahead of us did, the class that was right ahead of us. And they were all your typical type A, stressed out, fought for every grade. I mean, they would go in tears to the dean, like every week.
Right.
And we saw that and we're like, yeah, we're not going to be them.
Yeah.
We're going to
Yeah.
work together
Yes, I love that. Yeah,
and help each
absolutely.
other. We're not going to be
Yes.
like that class. So
Yes.
it's great when you have other students that you can connect with, and this is what I
Yeah.
encourage with my students when I teach. I said, hey, work together, figure out a way so that everyone can succeed, help each other. It's really hard to do by yourself. It's not impossible, but it
Right.
makes your life harder if you're trying to go it alone. So finding that support system is so important.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, just not in nursing school, but throughout your nursing career is definitely, it's worth it. Finding
Yeah.
somebody that, if you want to do something, finding somebody that might be already doing that, or that you can kind of role model off of or look up to or get coaching with is huge as well. So yeah, I always tell nursing students, like, get on LinkedIn and start finding the people of the things you want to do. Because nurses are really good at, giving our time to nursing students and other nurses, if they're interested in something that we're doing. So yeah, absolutely.
Definitely. Stay curious, my friend. Stay curious.
Yeah.
So, um, what was your first job out of nursing school? I always like to ask that because I'm curious if you started like everybody says, oh, I started in med surg, or you really had a niche of where you wanted to go. What was your first job?
Yeah, so when I graduated with my LPN, I worked actually in a community school teaching clinical skills because I loved doing IVs and sutures and things like that. So I actually stepped into a clinical role, and I think that was because I had previous Air Force experience. I was in the Air Force for 4 years in the medical arena. So I think having that background and kind of already having a career beneath me really helped me get into some of these positions and skip over the hospital. So LPN, I was in academia already doing clinical stuff. And I also was working at an integrative pediatrics. So I was just working as a nurse doing vaccines, doing, helping the doctor assist in different modalities and techniques that they were working on as well. So that was LPN. When I graduated from RN, though, I still didn't want to go into the hospital. I've been a patient too much to not want to go back into the hospital. So I was like, what can I do? And I actually became a director of a home health agency in Columbus, Ohio. So that was my first job out of RN school with an associate's degree. I became a director of nursing for home health. And I had no idea what I was doing, but we all figured it out together and we learned. And I went to a couple conferences where they taught how to do different home health forms and things like that. So the company believed in me and they were like, we'll put you through the training. And I'm like, let's go. We're all in this together. So that's where I started. I didn't hop into bedside, which a lot of the times nurses particularly think that they have to do. And I want to say you don't have to do that. There's way more jobs now. Even 10 years ago from when I started, there's a lot of remote jobs, AI jobs, and different areas that you can get into as a nurse.
I would say that definitely because I heard that you're supposed to do med surge, and I did that as a nurse tech. I had wonderful
Yeah.
mentors at the hospital, and I realized I did not want to do med surge. In fact, I interviewed for a job in med surge at another hospital because I needed a job, and but I really wanted to go into psychiatry. And
Mm,
so when they didn't hire me right away because I hadn't finished, hadn't taken the NCLEX yet,
yeah.
I said, "Hey, listen, this other hospital has offered me a job. But if you really want me here, you need to hire me now, put me on as a tech or something." I
Yeah.
said, because I need a job like ASAP. I'm out of money. And
Yes.
they took me. They like, okay, if you get this done in a couple weeks or so, I started my first job out in psychiatry, and I don't regret it
Yeah.
because I think in a way that made me a better nurse. I knew
Yeah.
the technical things, I started my first IV working in psychiatry. Never
Yeah.
had a chance to do that in nursing school because they had IV teams, and it just
Mhm.
didn't let us do it.
Yeah.
And so I started my first IV and did a lot of stuff that I wouldn't have had a chance to do. I did medical psych, and I don't regret any of that learning because it's helped me so much in everything I do today. And so
Yeah.
you're right, you don't have to start there. I mean, yes, it's great to have, and I know there's going to be nurses on here. They're like, no, you need to be in medicine. I know, I've heard it,
We
but
hear you. We hear you.
that's not right for everyone. It's like
Yeah.
saying everyone needs to be an LPN first, or everyone needs to be a CNA first. Sometimes, yes, I started out as a CNA. That was the way I started. That was a
Yeah.
good foundation for me, but that's not for everyone. And I'm like, again, you start with what you have and where you are. And now I also wanted to say thank you for your service. I didn't realize you had been in the Air Force. So tell us about what you did in the Air Force and how that led you into what you're doing now with nursing.
Yeah, so I was a public health medic, so we did very similar to like what an MA does, or even a nurse. Like we did a lot of things that nurses do, from assessments to flight physicals. So I was at Edwards Air Force Base in the Mojave Desert in California, where it reaches like 115 degrees. And it was hot. But beyond that, Edwards Air Force Base is known for their training of pilots. So we had all the airplanes that are in the States Air Force there, and a lot of the pilots would go there. So I would do like flight physicals where we're doing a full on, almost like a nursing assessment on the pilot that is about to be introduced to go flying. So we have to make sure that they're physically capable, that they have good vision. Everything's dotted and crossed and that they're good to go to be safe as a pilot. So that was a lot of what I did. I also did pregnancy, like their pregnancy waivers, basically they're called like 422s. And what that was is if you got pregnant while you're in the Air Force and say you're working the flight line with, JPA, which is like jet fuel and the airplanes and stuff, it, might subject the fetus to certain chemicals and noises and things like that. So a lot of our pregnant women that were in the Air Force, we would have to put them on like basically a profile where they couldn't do the work really anymore. They would almost go into like an administrative position for the time that they were pregnant. So that was a lot of what I did. We did also deployment briefings, pre-briefings, medical briefings, training for other people that were in the Air Force troops so they could supply medical care when they're out in the field. So a lot of fun times, and it was a lot of hands-on, which I really appreciated. And I wish they had more of in medical or in nursing school, because I really learned a lot of my clinical skills. That's really how I got through nursing school, because I already knew it from getting trained in the Air Force. We don't do a lot of fluff research papers, work, anything like that. There's a lot of teamwork, but everybody puts in the work. It's not like Judy over here is like taking the heat for the team, for the student group. Everybody has to put in effort. And so I use a lot of what I've learned in the Air Force, especially with the teamwork, inclusivity, collaboration. I learned that in the Air Force as well. So I come at everything really of what I do is it's a team effort. There's not really individual aspects of nursing, although we are taught that in nursing school. So it was a very different thing when I got in nursing school. I'm like, wait, why aren't we all working together? Like, why are we all separated by grades and prestigious and hierarchy? It's like, it doesn't matter. We're all humans here serving for the same cause, right? So that was kind of a weird thing to me when I got into nursing school. And it very eye-opening, because in the military, they break you down, but they build you up. But in nursing school, they break you down and they keep you there, and they just they don't build you up ever, until you do your own work and build yourself up. So I was like, where's the building? Where are we? Are we building something? So that's really what pushed me into doing all of the things that I've done, is to try to modernize nursing and the way that nursing is taught and done.
I remember sitting there, how they do in your first nursing class, and tell you to look to your left and look to your right, right? The person sitting next to you probably won't be there. And I think because of that, again, my class, our philosophy was like, no, we're all in this together. Yeah. We're gonna survive it. And I think that helped, because my previous undergrad experience, I have a degree in biology. Okay. And we kind of took that same approach to it. I was in French class. I have a minor in French. And we decided that everybody was going to pass the final for French. So we had 5 questions that you had to go in and answer the questions. Right?
Yeah.
So we said, that's a lot of French to memorize. So we decided that everybody in our group was going to take one question. And since we all went in as a group, when the professor asked that question to the group, if you were assigned that question, you would be the one who would answer the question.
Yeah, that's so smart.
And you had one answer to memorize. And that's how, as a group, we passed our French final, which is an oral test. You had to take a written test and then an oral test to pass. And so we're like, yeah, we're going to pass this and we're going to work together. So when it was my turn, I gave my answer, and she was like, perfect French. I was like, because we practiced, we got together, we worked together and practiced. Yeah. And I think that, we talk about this. There's been numerous studies about bullying in nursing and nurses eating their young. And I appreciate the fact that you're looking to modernize how we train and teach. So can you tell us a little bit more about that and what work you're doing now?
Yeah, of course. So yeah, it's been an interesting ride. Kind of, I don't want to say going against the system, because I'm really trying to work with the system. But as we know, the system is a very interesting system when we talk about healthcare. So the first thing that I've done is created the School of Modern Nursing, and that houses things like CE providers. So nurses can learn how to be a CE provider because all nurses are nurse educators, whether they know it or not. And they have that gift of being a nurse educator, and they can use their knowledge to create courses then that can be CE certified. So other nurses can take them and get their CEs. That is a requirement for every state. So that's one thing that I definitely wanted to give back to nurses. And we have all of these in our Nurses for Nurses Association, which I'll talk about here in just a minute. The next thing would be the somatic nursing. So I created somatic nursing from my own self-work that I've done over the last 10 years with somatics, dialectical behavior therapy, yoga, meditation, breath work, subconscious reprogramming, neuroplasticity. So some big words here, but it's all relates back to the nervous system and how much of the time our nervous system is actually the root cause of many diseases and disorders, including mental health as well. So a lot of time we don't look at that within psych nursing. I was a psych nurse as well for a majority of the time I was a nurse. And it's really interesting how we treat mental health disorders. And so modernizing that, like if let's look at the root cause, like let's just not slap a label on somebody just because they've told you a bunch of the symptoms. Like let's look at what their ACE score is, what their childhood was like, what their current environment situation looks like. So really taking the whole person approach, which we know as nurses is what we achieve to do. And much of the time we can't in the hospital system, we can't take a whole approach because we're just treating symptoms rather than the root cause. So I created somatic nursing. I was like, I am done with the way we are treating our mental health patients. As a patient in a mental health facility, I have been, and as a nurse in a mental health facility, I've also been. And both are very interesting roles because a lot of time we're not really able to integrate with the patients as much as we would like to help them achieve nervous system regulation. They're usually in a state of fight or flight the whole time because they get everything taken away upon entry. And there's a whole different, it's a whole different level of care when we're dealing with mental health. But really, every patient is a mental health patient. Every patient has emotions. Every patient has anxiety going into the operating room. Every patient has fears and doubts and frustration when they get a cancer diagnosis. So really every patient is a mental health patient if we look at it like that. And I love how you said, that's what you first went into and it made you a better nurse. And I think really every nursing student, we should start with mental health first because it's very if you can treat and help and communicate with a mental health patient, you can communicate with anybody. You really can. And so that was a little piece of what I've been doing. And I teach the somatic nurse coach certification. We have 3 starts this year, starting in March. It's just an 8-week program, but it teaches you of caring for yourself first, but then also caring for others using neuroplasticity, subconscious reprogramming, somatics, and things like that. So that's kind of what I've been on the journey with. And then Modern Nurse Fest, there's a lot of things I dabble in. I have a podcast, but I feel like there's just nothing that I cannot do I just want to do everything and I'll just keep messing around because really we're here to play and have fun and, make mistakes, make messes. And so that's what I'm all about is just creating and being a creator. Looking beyond the identity of a nurse is what I also try to help people figure out, like who would you be or who are you if I take away the nurse label? Like what other skills, gifts, strengths do you have? Because many nurses don't know, but they can go in business for themselves.
Yes.
So it's interesting helping them kind of reel in like their gifts and what they really love to do. And sometimes it has nothing to do with nursing. So it's been an interesting journey and I've absolutely loved every minute of it. The no's I've received, the yeses I've received, and everything in between. So, yeah.
Well, one of the reasons why I started this show was because I got nurses telling me, "Oh, I didn't know nurses could own businesses," and I'm like, "Absolutely." I'm like, "Well, what business do you want to own?" And so when I started the Nurse Shark Academy, that was one of the reasons why I started because I'm like, what you need are the basic business tools. and know how to apply it to healthcare and nursing. And there's a lot of great coaches out there that and some I've worked with, but they didn't have that background in healthcare, and so they didn't understand some of the regulations and why you can't just do this, this type of advertising and all this
Right.
kind of stuff, and how to really talk to medical professionals. And
Yeah.
that's why I niched down and said, hey, I really want to work with medical professionals. I want to work with nurses and help them make their own businesses. And I decided that what I like to do is to build things. I
Yes.
love building things and starting from scratch. And that makes sense when I look at my career and how I, ended
Yeah.
up in positions where I had to create the position, right?
Yes.
And
Yeah.
and so I love that aspect of it, but I don't necessarily want to be there to run the day to day all the time.
Yeah.
And so for me, helping other nurses get what they want is so important. And that's why I love talking to nurses like you who think outside of the box. And as far as I'm concerned, you sort of squished the box, kicked it down the road or whatever, right? Put
Yeah.
it in the incinerator. And we need that type of thinking
Yeah.
because we've done things the way we've done it forever, right? And we
Yeah.
need to move away from that. And now we're at a crucial point in nursing where we are not really redefining who we are. I'm going to say rediscovering who we
Yes.
are because
Yeah.
so much of modern medicine has taken away from us as nurses. And now we're really getting back to the root of who we are and what we do. And I know you've heard of the whole nurseology movement and everything like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And that's so very important. And so I think by reclaiming our voice as nurses and being able to stay there and stand on those stages and be at the boardroom and sit in our chair at the table. And
Yeah.
I'm the type of person that said, I don't want just a chair at the table. I want to own the table.
Yeah.
Right? I want to
Exactly.
own the table. I want to
Yes.
invite you to my table. How about that? And so that's how I think. And so I get excited when I hear about other nurses that are doing that. So tell us about Modern Nurse Fest. What goes on there? When's the next one? How can people get to go? Let us know.
Yeah, yeah. So yes, thank you. And yeah, Modern Nurse Fest started October 2024. I put it together in 2 months and had 20 speakers, 300 people from all around the world. It was an online Zoom. I did 2 days and I had all these speakers on, and I didn't offer CEs at that time, and it was amazing. It was amazing. And there was topics that we talked about that are very taboo still in nursing, or nurses don't have very good access to other nurses that are teaching it. So we talked about psilocybin. So it's mushroom. It's called microdosing is another term for that. Also plant medicines such as cannabis and entrepreneurship. I had financial nurses on there, nurses that do credit card points, nurses that handle financial investments. We had nurses from aesthetics on there. So,
Mhm.
really, a wide range of nurses that are doing all sorts of things beyond the bedside. And so, that's what I really wanted to focus on because I knew that there was nothing really like this because most conferences we focus on patient care, unfortunately.
Right.
It's not really for the nurse or to better the nurse. It's actually to better our care with our patients, which is fine. But
Hmm.
I think we've really kind of overdone that in a sense because we get a lot of information for the hospitals we work for with continuing education. Like it's really kind of shoved down our throats of how much education we get on taking care of patients. But we still have high patient ratios. So we really can't actually take those education and put it into play because we just don't have time to actually do it. So I just saw a need that nurses were this trend of burning out, and it's getting shorter and shorter right now. It's 2 to 3 years. So I was like, okay, we've got to do this. And I had the lovely Jen Crow. She was in charge of Nurses for Nurses community
Hmm.
as a speaker at the first Modern Nurse Fest in 2024. And she called me like a couple months later, about December time, and she was like, Emily, we have to bring this to Alaska. There is nothing like this up here. Our nurses need it up here. They're very rural. They're they're needing something. They really just rotate between these three hospitals because they're not aware of all the opportunities that there are for nurses. And she was a charge nurse still at the hospital she was working at. So she's like, I have to kind of keep it on the down low, but I really believe in what you're doing and I want to be a part of it. So her and I planned, and from Atlanta to Anchorage, our time zones, we figured it out, and we put on Modern Nurse Fest Anchorage, Alaska last year in September, and it was a success. We had lots of nurses come from all over. We had nurses that flew on like puddle jumpers and then took a bus and took a train, like just to get to Modern Nurse Fest. It was the stories. I mean, I'm getting chills right now because the stories that the nurses told of how appreciative they were of Modern Nurse Fest and all of the amazing speakers that came from all over the United States, not just Alaska. It was so wonderful. So we had a really good turnout then. And again, the same thing, plant medicine, entrepreneurship. I kind of just copied and pasted. And we actually had a few speakers from the online fest come back for the Anchorage Fest. And actually, some of them are coming back for the fest that we're having in Florida next week. So it's been great. We've got nothing but great feedback. And nurses want to know, like, when is the next one? We already have tickets bought for Houston and Sacramento and even Anchorage. So it's something that nurses need. And I saw that in being in academia and being in the hospital systems. I was like, man, I've done really well as an out of the box person. Like, I think I want to teach this to others. So, I got on LinkedIn, started looking people up, and people started messaging me, and it was just creating those collaborations and those wonderful relationships that we do so well as nurses with other nurses. So we have Florida next week, February 25th and 26th. And we're having it at the Winter Park Community Center, which is so wonderful. And we're opening up actually to the public. So the public can come in, and if they want to step into a class, they are more than welcome to. We have yoga, sound bowls, we have entrepreneurship, we have biohacking, longevity medicine. So a lot of cool forefront modern healthcare, because that's where it's going. Like, we're seeing like concierge nursing. We're seeing people that really want to take control of their health. So I'm basically arming nurses with the key abilities and skills in order to take care of the people that really want to get better. And we're seeing more and more people that are kind of like, how can I actually get well? Not just treating my symptoms a lot of the time. So I think we're in the right time of seeing more holistic modalities come in, more nurse coaches come into the field. And more preventative care is really on the horizon of treating people from a preventative sense rather than a symptom sense.
I think we again, one of the things that we talked about, and I saw this on LinkedIn recently, was the difference between patient-centered care and person-centered care. And I think we're redefining some of that, because before we would pathologize everything, right? You would go to report and you'd say, okay, you've got the 38-year-old diabetic in room 2. No, that's not who that person is,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But in medicine, we sometimes will dehumanize the person. That's like, no, that's somebody's son. That's somebody's father. That's somebody's brother. And we need to remember that when we're dealing with our patients. And also, whatever they happen to have going on with them. And I always tell my clients, I said, you're not your disease.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. So, schizophrenia may be part of your identity, but it's not your whole identity.
Yeah.
You're not your disease. And so we need to do that, and do it in such a way that as own it as part of our nursing practice. These are things that we did many, many years ago, right? When you look at how nursing got started, a lot of what nursing came out of was the religious order. So they looked at the person holistically. And now we have modern medicine kind of trying to reclaim that, slap their own labels on it, and, make us think that, gaslight nursing and say that, what we're doing is not science. But all of a sudden you're calling it something else, and so it is science. This is science.
Yeah.
Nursing is both an art and a science. We just have to give voice to that. And so I'm excited about all the different things that I'm learning by just meeting with nurses like you. So, what's it like being an entrepreneur? If you had some advice for a budding entrepreneur, what would it be?
Yeah. Yeah. So know that you're trading in a risky career, which I say risky when I talk about nursing because you can get fired at any time and you're really just being told what to do. So I always say regular traditional nursing is very risky. Becoming an entrepreneur, there is zero risk. There really is zero risk because you know that you're going to do everything in your right power to figure some shit out. Like if
Right,
something's not working, like you're not going to go to the charge nurse or the executive director or another nurse. You're going to have to figure it out and you're going to have to figure out ways. And so entrepreneurs are very good at, it's not even taking risk, it's like putting it all in, putting your eggs in the basket and like trying to really figure it out. So I think the biggest thing is learning about yourself is going to be huge. First of all, like learning what makes you tick, learning what triggers you, learning to be visible. A lot of entrepreneurs, especially starting out and even ones that have been around for a while, have a hard time with being visible and visibility. And that
hmm
just comes with, I mean, not really caring what others think to a point, but just putting yourself out there because it takes about 7 to 13 times for somebody to see something before they're going to buy it, purchase it, or even ask a question about it. So knowing like what you do in the hospital is very directed by somebody else. So you're going to have to really hone in on your own self and what makes you happy and understanding like you're not going to probably work the typical 3 12s or the 8 to 5. It's going to be kind of all over the place at first until you find a rhythm that feels good for you. Like I work a lot of the time at night, like in the late time hours, because I just feel like I work better. So everybody just has to figure out their groove. But I think the biggest thing is tapping into yourself and really kind of learning about yourself first and learning are the habits that you have, maybe the habits of procrastination, is that maybe from a trauma or an ACE score that you can check out, right? So
Yes.
a lot of the nurses I work with go through the Somatic Nurse Coach program. Not that they bring it so much into their client care, they do, but it's really helps them so much figure out like who they are, what they really want, because they're not in that nurse identity really anymore. It's a transition into a self identity. Like, who do you want to be now? Like, how exciting is this? Like, you have a blank canvas. What are you going to paint? Right. So
Right.
that's really the wisdom that I can give out for that.
Okay. Well, that's wonderful. So, you did have something to offer to our listeners. You said they could get information about your scholarship program for Modern Nurse Fest. So, tell us about that.
Yeah, yeah. So we offer scholarships. So Nurses for Nurses is the association that Jen had, and now we are co-creators in that. And Nurses for Nurses is exactly what it is. It's not a stuffy like pantsuit association. We will return your calls. We will return your emails. This isn't an exclusive hierarchy situation. So we want every nurse to be able to attend Modern Nurse Fest. So we put a lot of the money back in from our Modern Nurse Fest into this beautiful grant program that we have for scholarship. So if you're a nurse and you want to come to Modern Nurse Fest, I highly urge you to go to modernnursefest.org, and there'll be a pop-up that comes up for a scholarship, or you can click on any of the locations and fill out a scholarship application. We do have a cutoff. I think we have about 25 to 50, just depending on each festival. But we do have programs as well for nursing students. So if you're a nursing student, please reach out to me personally. And I know the founders, just kidding, I am the founders with Gen Pro, but we will get you in probably for free. Like that's how this goes. We want to be different than any other conference because we're not a conference, we're a festival. We're here to celebrate nurses and celebrate what nursing can be for every single nurse.
That sounds wonderful. And so, give us the website again. Is it modernnursefest.com?
.org, but you can use
.org.
.com. They both, the
Okay.
.com, whatever you're feeling, it will go to the .org website. So we do have a redirect on that. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Perfect. So, be sure to check out the show notes because I will put all those links for all the different entities and where you can get your scholarship. I'll put that in the show notes as well. And so you'll have access to that. So, did you have any parting words for us before we sign off for today?
Just have a little bit more fun in life. Just try to be a little bit lighter, right? Like there's a lot of distraction, especially currently going around on, social media and the world. So if at any point you just feel heavy, remove yourself from whatever is making you heavy, whether it's social media, whether it's a toxic environment, whether it's a job, a relationship. Just be very cognizant of how you feel and what you notice about yourself. And then create a life and create a journey that brings you more happiness and joy rather than grief, strife, shame, fear, doubt. Because when we're in those high frequency emotions, we function better. We are more well inside on the outside, and we could just be better humans for the collective. So I'll leave everybody with that.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Emily. I want to thank you, everyone who's tuning in. If you are watching us on YouTube, and please don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell. If you're listening to our audio podcast on Podbean or wherever you get your podcast, leave us a like and a comment. We so greatly appreciate it. And share this great content with other nurses so that they can also learn from these great guests that we have on our show. Again, thank you, Emily, for being here. Thank you for your time. And I'll see you next time. Bye-bye for now.
Bye.
Ready to turn your nursing skills into a thriving business? At the Nurse Shark Academy, we give you expert strategies, real startup guidance, and the support to go from employee to empowered entrepreneur. Join us and build the nurse-owned business of your dreams. Start today and join us at the neurosharkacademy.biz. Thank you for listening to the Nurse Shark Academy show wherever you get your podcasts or watching us on YouTube. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and don't forget to hit the notification bell so that you'll know when all of our episodes come out. If you want further information, you can contact us on the neurosharkacademy.biz.